How's it going, everyone? I'm Sir James coming at you guys with another lightsaber video, and today we have one that many of you have been excited to check out, and this is for the Stranger. For those of you who are unfamiliar or just never seen Star Wars: The Acolyte, the Stranger is this mysterious hooded figure with a strange mask that the community has dubbed Smilo Ren just because of the mask design. But yes, he goes by the Stranger. He does have a proper name, but I'm just going to leave it out just in case if you're watching the show. Although my review may have some little spoilers here and there, just a little bit of a heads up, alright? So, the show's been done and over with, so if you haven't seen it, cool. If you have, cool, I guess. So, we'll just go from there. Anywho, this particular lightsaber was obtained from ArtSabers.com, which I'll have a link in the video description down below for you to check out. And as far as what is this installed with, it is installed with the Xenopixel 3 because it was the only option that was available. Again, I would have preferred Profi, but Xenopixel is not a bad option, especially for those of you who are diving into lightsabers for the first time. You know, maybe you were someone who's had, you know, Galaxy's Edge Legacy Saber or Built to Savi's Workshop Saber, but you wanted to dive into it and you decided to go Xenopixel. Again, it's a great option. There's a lot of features built in, gesture controls, over 30 lightsaber fonts, and it's got built-in stuff to be able to change the ignition type, blade styles, and all that stuff. And adding saber fonts onto a Xenopixel board is as simple as drag and drop and just renaming a folder. I mean, how simple can it be? I mean, yeah, it is that simple. Anywho, let's go ahead and take a closer look in terms of the design of the hilt. Now, yes, the hilt overall is very basic. I mean, it doesn't look anything too exciting, to be quite honest. We do have a little heat bluing ring kind of treatment here on the top there. You know, overall this section looks pretty neat. You got a little control box, a one button setup going down to the end all the way to the pommel section, which over here we do have, of course, a D-ring and a cover tech wheel. Now, yes, the saber design is pretty basic. So what exactly makes this lightsaber cool? Is it because it belongs to a character, which I think was one of the coolest portions of the show? No, not exactly. It's not one of the reasons why it's cool. One of the reasons why it's cool is because it does a cool little function such as this. That is right. It came apart. What does that mean? Did I break it? Well, no, not exactly. Because what I've pulled from the hilts is another hilt, a little shoto, if you will. And yeah, that's the main function here. So let me go ahead and put this back together and bring it a bit closer. Like I said, if you've never seen the show, then this is considered a spoiler. But if you have seen the show, then obviously you guys know that this was probably one of the coolest moments, especially with how he finished off his opponents. So again, here is the hilt in general. We just simply twist this, pull out, and we have another hilt. And yes, this is the second piece here is fully installed with Xenopixel. So as I mentioned, a one button setup. It's still a one button setup, at least for the top half. The bottom half is one button as well, but where's the button? Well, the cover tech wheel is the button. Yes, there it is right there. So yes, a very cool and interesting design. Well, basically how it transpired is as he was fighting against the Jedi, of course, he was literally destroying them all, thankfully, because none of them just stood a chance. And they're not very bright, I'm not gonna lie. But he did a pretty cool move for I'm pretty sure she was a Padawan, if I remember correctly. I don't really care as much. But when she was attacking him, he did a move to where you see the camera pan over, he twists, and then next thing you know, we see an interesting shot. So just imagine that there is a character in front of me blocking my entire view. All you can see is me blocking the saber from this overhead strike. And out of the blue, you see not one, not two, but 3 lightsaber stabs going through the chest of the character that is in front of me. So that's what happened. He literally did a block, pulled out a hidden hilt, and stabbed her 3 times. just to make sure that Disney can't bring her back from the dead, because, you know, no one really dies in Star Wars. You know, we've seen that happen numerous times. But yes, he made sure to give her the treatment so that way she can't come back from the dead. But, I mean, now she's really not coming back. But yeah, a really cool move. And like I said, it's a really neat feature and probably one of the reasons why people are really digging this lightsaber. Now, before I bring over the blades and stuff, and before I talk about the blades, one thing I do want to kind of just mention really quick is that as far as the hilt goes, yes, it is definitely quite hefty. There's a lot of weight to it. And in terms of also the thickness, it reminds me of the lightsabers that you build from Sawi's workshop, which, if you're not sure what this is, it's one of those buildable lightsabers from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. An overall fun experience too, with 4 different themes and different parts and whatnot to customize your own hilts. But of course, as far as electronics go, definitely doesn't have anything like the custom sabers. But still, again, fun experience. But yes, as far as the heftiness and the thickness of the hilt, easily reminds me of a Sawi's workshop lightsaber hilts for sure. And speaking of blades, if you are curious, now obviously when you buy a custom lightsaber, you get the whole shebang, unless if you selected otherwise, where they typically come with blades and whatnots. So yes, by default you will of course get your normal long length blade, but what about the other one? Because obviously in the show, the other hilt, the one that he pulls out from the main one, isn't as long as this, not even close. But not to worry, yes, this will include a second blade. And as you can see, the second blade is much shorter compared to the main blade. So you are good to go right off the bats. But let's go ahead and fire this up. Now, one thing to note here, that obviously because it's 2 installs going on here, which by the way, if you're curious, does the little small hilt have a large battery? It's actually a much tinier, but probably the smallest battery that I've seen in a custom lightsaber. But when you have this activated, specifically just the top one first, which I'll do in just a moment, the audio is not going to be as loud and clear. If you really want the audio to pop, you would want to, of course, activate both, because you have to activate the top just to get the blade portion, and you would have to activate the bottom to be able to get the audio. Until this is fully disconnected, the audio on top is going to be muffled, and once it's disconnected, then you'll be able to hear just fine. So for example, let's go ahead and activate the top one. Again, just the top one is activated. So let me go ahead and deactivate. Now let me go ahead and activate just the bottom, because the main source is coming from here now. Activate the top. Oops. And go ahead and deactivate. So yes, that's just one thing to kind of keep note about this. So let me go ahead and install this blade here, and then we'll turn off this light, of course, and kind of go from there. And just kind of have fun a little bit, you know, just wing it a little bit. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Xenopixel, there's actually another little thing that you can do with it. It's not necessary, it's completely optional, is that you can download an app which is called the Xeno Configurator, which will allow you to, of course, connect your saber through your mobile device through the Bluetooth connectability, and you can have easy access to being able to switch wherever the fonts you wanted to go for. So if you have your fonts organized a certain way, you could easily navigate it that way. Like for example, I added one font to this hilt because by default it comes with 34 saber fonts, and I added one more, so that makes it 35. And the saber font that I enabled is the one I'm currently on right now, which belongs to the character in general. And basically how you do that, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is I went to Kyberphonic, for example. I downloaded his saber font package from Star Wars The Acolyte, found this saber font belonging to the character, and of course in the folder he's got stuff for like Prophy, Xenopixel, Crystal Focus, and all that. And you simply take the Xenopixel file added to the SD card of the, of course, the SD card on here, and change the name from, whatever it is, so Xenopixel to 35 in this case, and then it's as simple as that. But let's go ahead and activate this. So like I said, we're just going to go ahead and activate both, and then I'll disconnect and bring the other one over. So now the top is up, and now the bottom is on. Now the other thing that you'll probably notice, and again this is kind of like, there's a little positive and negatives between the two, is that any like clashing saber lock effects and stuff like that, obviously the main source of the audio is going to come from this top half, which is already muffled when the two parts are together. Unless if you're of course activating the bottom one at the same time doing on that, it could be a little bit of a pain in the butt to kind of initiate all that all together. So let me go ahead and disconnect the bottom and just now activate it with the bottom now off. Now you can hear it just fine. I'm going to go ahead and put this down first. So just like that. And again, we bring the other piece over. Oh, let's see. I always get the parts backwards. And now it's muffled. So there's kind of like the little drawback there. So anyways, let me go ahead and disconnect this, and I'm going to go ahead and now connect the smaller one of the two. And when you have this connected, it kind of reminds me of the Yoda lightsaber. The Yoda one I think is a little bit longer, of course, but it's still a very short one. I mean, like, if you have like a little one lying around inside the house and you want them to use a lightsaber, perfect for the little kids. Train them while they're young, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and check out this one. You do of course have gesture controls like swing on, twist off, again, just like that. And what's great about this one is, like, especially when you want to go in for that kill against the Jedi, you bring them over and you simply stab them right in the gut. Or just like you constantly stab them to death. I mean, is this video a little dark? Yeah, but is it exciting? Of course. So, yeah. Oop, let's see. Honestly, you just say what you want, but this is quite handy. Just like a little Shoto dagger type blade here. It's got a lot of usefulness, to be quite honest. And the nice thing about the character too is because the reason why he has this particular helmet and I believe it's a pair of gauntlets, at least on one of the arms, is that the material is made, I don't remember the name of it, but it's really cool because I know it exists as far as lore goes. But the interesting thing about this material is when a lightsaber strikes that armor, it causes the lightsaber to deactivate and pretty much now function for just a brief amount of time. So eventually the saber will reactivate per normal, but the fact that he uses it to his advantage in fighting style just made it work quite well. Not only that, the dude was pretty jacked. Like when his arm was in the frame, it's like, this dude's been working out quite a bit, that's for sure. But very cool to see nonetheless. So anyways, let me go ahead and bring the other one over and kind of walk through some of the other features, just in case if you're new to this channel and unfamiliar with Xenopixel. So like I said, I was currently on the Saber font 35. 35 is the one that I added out of the 34 that you do get by default. Is of course how to change and go between all the different things. So first off, there is a volume control. So if you find that the saber is too loud, or you just don't want volume at all, you just simply hold down the button for a mere second and let go, such as
volume
So this is the volume on low. Again, definitely not as loud, much more quieter. Especially if you're just happening to be in a room or next door and people are trying to tell you to be quiet. There's that. Or if you really want to be quiet, there is mute. Which of course you just have the color of whatever the blade is going to be. And that's pretty much it. And of course to bring it back over,
volume high.
Back to volume high. If you want to go ahead and change things around, again, there are, you have to kind of hold it for between a few different seconds. But before I do that, I want to show you something a bit useful. I know people have told me about this one in the past, but I want to showcase it to you. Is rather than trying to count in your head, or just in case if you make the mistake, this is a option that you can do.
App connected.
Yes, so we'll go there in just a second. Let me put this up here actually. Alright, let's go ahead and hopefully you'll stay. So right now I have it connected with the Xeno configurator, and what's cool is that we can do all kinds of different things without even having to touch the saber. For example, me using the Force and just simply turn on the saber, or to turn off. I know, how did I do that? It is magic. Or is it? Or is it? Is it not? That's because I'm just using the app and I'm touching the crystal. So, for example, here. It's as easy as that. There's other functions here like color control. You could, of course, swap colors with just the hilt without using the mobile device. And all kinds of different effects. And, of course, down here, as you can see, there is the saber fonts. 35, like I said, is the one I added, and there's 34 on there. Now, a useful thing is to go into the settings here, and there's one here called Countdown, which I'm now enabling. As you can see right here, I've enabled the countdown. So now I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect the app.
App disconnected.
So now, instead of having to count and let go, every time I hold down this button, there will be a beep sound. Again, 100% optional. You don't have to enable this. So for example, we want this to beep for 2 seconds to go to the next effect.
Unstable.
And that is going to change the, of course, blade style. In this case, unstable, which I don't recommend because unstable is very strobe-like. So if you're sensitive to strobe effects, I wouldn't recommend unstable.
Rainbow blade.
Rainbow blade, on the other hand, is fun and full of RGB and color and life.
Candy blade.
That one's still kind of like the chroma one.
Cracked blade. Pulse.
Pulse is the nice one. If anything, I recommend Pulse because it's got a pulsating effect on the blade and it looks a lot nicer compared to just standard. Standard is what I was using earlier.
Flash blade.
I wouldn't recommend Flash blade either, just be aware.
Fire blade.
Now, if you wanted to go to the next thing, which is going to be the ignition type, hold this down until it beeps for 3 seconds, or vice versa, and one of my lights already died.
Broken ignition.
Another one.
Photon ignition. Stack ignition.
And then we'll do 2 more.
Warp ignition. Phaser ignition.
That one's a fun one. It's as simple as that. And of course, if you wanted to change lightsaber fonts without using the phone, I know there's a like adjuster way of doing it. I can't remember on top of my head, but there's instructions that come in the box. But the other way is to simply hold this down for a total 4.
Moonfield.
So again, 2, 3, 4.
Whispers of power.
Oops. It wasn't going backwards.
The teacher.
There you go. So as simple as that. Color change. Let's see.
Color change.
There you go. Color change will basically cycle through the different colors until you find a color that you want. And once you find one that you're happy with, so let's see. We're just going to simply twist. We're going to go ahead and go with this one.
Color selected.
So we changed it from green to now red. So it's as simple and easy as that. But overall, the hilt is actually pretty cool. Like I said, it's kind of weird holding the two by themselves. I mean, if you're just using this one, I didn't mean to activate that. If you're just using this one like standalone without being connected to anything, it's quite fun to use and just go crazy with it. But it takes kind of getting used to. But like I said, when he pulled this out, it was more of a, I don't know, defensive or offensive play. And it was just a really cool segment as far as the show goes. Of course, if you don't want to watch the show, I highly recommend, it's on YouTube. Just simply watch the clip where it's the stranger versus the Jedi, and then you'll see the moment take place. It's pretty much the only really cool part in the show. That and one other scene, which I mentioned in my past review. But what do you guys think about the hilt? Let me know in the comment section down below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video upload, in this case next week. Until then, always remember, may the Force be with you.